When you plant a seed, you can't force it to sprout the next day. But if you nurture it with love and patience, one day it will grow into a tree. It took me a lifetime to realize the truth in those words, especially when I think about the relationships within my family. There were moments when my heart felt heavy because of the words or actions of my children. Times when I realized they no longer looked at me with the respect they once had. And I know, perhaps you've carried that same feeling in your heart too, haven't you? I recall back in the day, when I was a younger mother and grandmother, I too faced moments when my children, the ones I love most, made me feel unappreciated. There were times when I spoke and they didn't listen, or moments when they carelessly said things that stung my heart. I know you might have felt that too. That feeling isn't easy, is it? It makes us wonder, what did I do wrong? I've sacrificed my whole life for my children, so why do they treat me this way? But over the years, I came to understand that respect isn't something we can demand instantly. It's like a seed. It needs time, love, and wisdom to be sown. You see, as we grow older, we carry within us a treasure trove of life experiences. But sometimes, our own children fail to see that. They're busy with their lives, their own pressures, and often forget that we, the elderly, also have feelings, also need to be heard and respected. I understand. That can wound our hearts. But instead of letting that pain drive us apart from our children, we can choose a different path, a path of understanding, of love, and of patience. I've walked that path, and I've learned that when we change our approach, we can work miracles in our relationships with our children. Today, I want to invite you to join me on a journey to explore the lessons I've gathered over time, lessons that have helped me not only regain respect from my children, but also build a deeper, stronger bond with them. These aren't overnight miracles, but practical ways drawn from my own life and the experiences of other elders I've met. They will help you plant seeds of understanding so that one day you'll see them bloom into moments of love within your family. Here, we will together turn the pages of life's book, revealing why respect sometimes begins with us and how we can turn challenging moments into opportunities to grow closer to our children. Are you ready to start this journey with me? Let's learn together, heal together, and rebuild those bridges of love within our families. I remember a time when one of my children said something that deeply hurt me. At that moment, I wanted to raise my voice, to scold, to ask why they could speak to me that way after all I'd done. But then I stopped. I sat down, took a deep breath, and told myself, if I respond with anger, I'll only push them further away. Over the years, I've come to realize something. Anger might make us feel strong for a moment, but it never builds bridges of love. Instead, I chose to approach with love. I called my child over, not to reprimand, but to share my feelings. I said, "My dear, when you said that, it made me feel very sad. I know you didn't mean it, but I want you to understand how I feel." I spoke gently, without blame, simply opening my heart. And a miracle happened. My child went quiet for a moment, then apologized. I realized that when I chose love over anger, I opened a door for my child to understand me better. You see, respect doesn't come from shouting or forcing. It comes from how we make others feel our hearts. Of course, this doesn't mean we should hide our emotions. No, we have the right to feel sad or hurt, But instead of letting negative feelings lead, let love guide us. I recall sharing with my child about the struggles I faced raising them, not to make them feel guilty, but to show that everything I did came from love. When children see our hearts, they gradually learn to cherish us. I know it's not always easy. There are days when you'll feel tired, like you've given too much without receiving anything in return. But be patient, my friend. Love is a language everyone understands, no matter how busy or mistaken they might be. When you choose love, you're planting a seed of understanding and respect. It might not sprout today, but one day you'll see it grow, bloom, and bring the loving moments you've always hoped for. Try it, my friend. Next time your child upsets you, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath, think of the love you have for them, and speak to them from your heart. You'll see that respect isn't something distant. It begins with those small moments when we choose love over anger. I learned a precious lesson over the years as a mother and grandmother. If we don't respect ourselves, how can we expect our children to respect us? One way I found to regain respect from my children was to set boundaries, not with hardness or coldness, but with kindness and firmness. You see, boundaries aren't walls to separate us, they're doors to protect the love between us and our children. Once, one of my children spoke to me in a tone that wasn't very gentle. My heart felt squeezed tight. But instead of enduring silently or responding harshly, I chose to express my thoughts. I said, "I'd love to talk with you, but I hope we can do so gently and with mutual respect." I didn't raise my voice or scold. I simply voiced my wish. And you know what? My child stopped, looked at me, and nodded. From then on, I realized that setting boundaries with kindness not only protected me, but also taught my child how to love properly. Setting boundaries doesn't mean we become strict or distant. No, my friends, it's just a way to show our children that we too have value, that we deserve to be heard. I remember telling my child, "I need a little quiet time each afternoon because I'm older and need rest. Can you help me with that?" When I expressed my needs clearly and gently, my child started paying more attention to my feelings. Gradually, I saw them change. They began to care more, and respect grew from there. But the key is consistency, my friend. If you set a boundary today but let it slide tomorrow, your children won't understand its value. I once made that mistake. I let my child speak disrespectfully without speaking up because I feared losing their affection. But then I realized that if I didn't protect myself, I'd lose the respect I longed for. So be patient but firm. Show your children that you love them, but you also love yourself. And don't forget, boundaries are about actions too, not just words. If your child repeatedly does something that makes you uncomfortable, gently step back, not to punish, but to show them you deserve better treatment. I believe that when we set boundaries with love, we not only regain respect, but also build a stronger relationship. Try it, my friend. Start with the smallest things, and you'll see the difference. One of the greatest treasures we elders carry is the stories of our lives. I've always believed that when children no longer see our value, what they need isn't lectures, but stories, real stories from the heart, from what we've lived through. You see, when we share our stories, We don't just recount the past, we open a door for our children to understand us better. I recall a time when one of my children grew impatient as I tried to advise them on a life issue. I felt overlooked, as if my words no longer held value. But instead of feeling down, I decided to tell them a story. I said, "You know, when I was young, I was as hasty as you are now. Once, I made a mistake, and it cost me years of hardship. I detailed it, the days of hard work, the loneliness, and how I learned patience." My child listened, and for the first time in a while, I saw their eyes change, an expression of understanding. You see, stories have a magical power. They're not just tales, they're bridges between generations. When we share our joys, sorrows, mistakes, and lessons, we show our children that we were once like them, that we stumbled and grew, that closeness fosters respect. I remember telling my child about how their grandfather and I overcame financial struggles when they were young. I didn't boast. I wanted them to see that what they have today was built with love and sacrifice. But to truly touch your child's heart, we must tell stories with our whole soul, my friend. Don't just recount. Let your emotions flow through every word. Let your child see the sparkle in your eyes when you recall happy days, or the quiet sadness when you mention hardships. When you share with your heart, you're not just giving a memory, you're giving them yourself. And that will make them look at you with a new respect. Try it, my friend. Next time you feel your child isn't listening, tell them a story from your life, one that might help them understand you and your worth. I believe that through those stories, you'll see your relationship with your child evolve, step by step, in the most beautiful way. One thing I learned after years as a mother and grandmother: sometimes a child's lack of respect isn't because they don't love us, but because they're carrying burdens we haven't understood. I remember a time when one of my children grew distant, often replying curtly when I checked in. At first, I felt hurt, thinking they no longer valued me. But then, I decided to do something I'd never done before. I asked for their perspective, asking what they were feeling. I sat beside them and said gently, "My dear, I've noticed you seem unhappy lately. Is something bothering you? I'd love to hear." I didn't interrupt or judge. I just listened. And you know what? My child opened up. They talked about work pressures, worries they didn't know how to share. I realized their irritability wasn't aimed at me, but was their way of coping. Understanding that brought us closer, and my child began to open up to me more. You see, we often think our children should understand and respect us because we're parents or grandparents, but we forget they have their own emotions and struggles. When we ask for their perspective and truly listen, we show we care and build a bridge of understanding. I remember asking a grandchild, "What do you think if Grandma did this?" Just a simple question, but I saw their eyes light up, feeling their opinion mattered. From then on, they listened to me more. Listening doesn't mean agreeing with everything they say. No, my friend, but when we give them space to express themselves, we help them feel respected, and respect is a two-way street. When your child feels you care about their emotions, they'll gradually learn to care about yours. I've seen this in my own family. When I started asking and listening, our conversations grew warmer and respect blossomed. Try it, my friend. Next time you feel your child drifting away, sit down and ask, "What's on your mind?" Then listen, truly listen. I believe those moments will open a new path to closeness with your child, and respect will naturally grow. I've always believed the best way to teach our children isn't through words, but through our actions. If we want our children to respect us, we must first show respect to them, to others, and most importantly, to ourselves. You see, children are like mirrors. They reflect what they see in us. I recall a time when one of my children raised their voice during an argument. I felt so sad, but I told myself that if I shouted back, I'd only make things worse. So I kept my voice soft and calm. I said, "I understand how you feel, but can we talk more gently?" I didn't just say it, I did it. I listened, didn't interrupt, and stayed composed despite my inner turmoil. After that, I noticed my child change. They began speaking to me with a gentler tone. You see, when we show respect, we teach our children how to love and value others. I always try to treat everyone kindly, from neighbors, old friends, to my own children. I remember apologizing to my child for a small misunderstanding I caused. I said, "I'm sorry for misunderstanding you. I'll try harder." That admission and apology made my child look at me differently, with respect, because they saw I valued their feelings. But the most important thing, my friend, is to respect ourselves. If we let our children treat us poorly without speaking up, if we forget our own worth, how can we expect their respect? I learned that when I cherish myself, when I take time to rest, when I say no to what discomforts me, my children begin to see me with more respect. I remember telling my child, "I need a little rest now because I'm older. Can you help me?" When I valued my health and feelings, my child learned to care for me too. Try it, my friend. Start by treating your children and yourself with the respect you seek. Be a shining example for them, and I believe over time you'll see the change. The respect you've longed for will come step by step in the most natural way. One thing I learned after years as a parent: respect isn't something we can force. It's something we must let grow naturally, like a tree needing time to sprout. I remember times when I felt disappointed because my children didn't treat me as I hoped. I wanted them to change instantly, to appreciate all I'd done. But then I realized that sometimes the best thing we can do is give our children space to mature, to recognize our value on their own. I recall a period when one of my children was always busy, rarely paying attention to me. Each time I called, they'd reply briefly, and I felt like I no longer mattered in their life. At first, I was so sad. I wanted to say, "Don't you see how much I've sacrificed?" But then I chose a different path. I stepped back, not to distance myself, but to give them space. I still loved and cared, but I didn't push. I sent short messages. "I miss you. Call me when you're free." I let them feel and reflect. And you know what? After a while, my child called back. They said, "Mom, I'm sorry for being too busy lately. I didn't pay attention to you." I realized that when I gave them space, they had time to look back, to remember what I'd done, and from that, their respect for me grew. You see, sometimes we need patience, trusting that our children will mature and see our worth in their own way. Giving space doesn't mean abandoning them or stopping our love. No, my friend, I was always there, ready to listen whenever they needed, but I didn't force or demand. I once told my child, "I'm here if you need me, but I also want you to have time to think." When I gave them space, I also gave myself a chance to heal, to not be hurt by unmet expectations. And the miracle was, when I didn't impose, my child came to me with a more respectful attitude. Try it, my friend. If you feel your children don't value you, give them time. Keep loving them, but don't force it. Let them grow, let them recognize your worth through the loving actions you've shown. I believe over time you'll see the change. Respect will come, not through demands, but naturally and sincerely. Looking back on the journey we've shared today, I feel so warm inside to have shared these lessons I've gathered over the years. You see, regaining respect from our children isn't a battle. It's a journey, one that requires much love, understanding, and patience. I've learned that when we choose love over anger, set boundaries with kindness, share stories from our lives, listen to our children, model the respect we seek, and give them space to grow, all these small acts are seeds we plant. And with time, those seeds will sprout, grow into trees of love, bringing the respect we've always hoped for. I know there will be days when you feel tired, like you've given too much without receiving anything in return. I've been there too, wondering if I was doing something wrong. But trust me, my friend, trust in the power of love and patience. Our children, no matter how busy or mistaken they may be, always carry love for us in their hearts. Sometimes they just need time, need us to guide them with our hearts, to recognize the value of what we've done. And when that day comes, you'll see every effort was worth it. The moments when your children look at you with respect, the warm hugs, the gentle words, all are the most precious rewards. I'd love to hear your stories too, my friend. Have you ever experienced moments when your children made you feel unappreciated? What did you do to overcome it, to rebuild bridges of love in your family? Please share with me and everyone in the comments below. I believe each of your stories is a precious lesson, not just for me, but for all who are listening. Your story might inspire someone else, helping them find light on their own journey. Thank you for taking the time to listen to these heartfelt shares from me. If you found these lessons helpful, please leave a comment and don't forget to share this video so others can learn too. Let's spread love and understanding within our families together, my friend. See you in the next journeys at Heirloom Wisdom.